Hello there, Obi-Wan Jacoby here, back with another video. Today I just want to be discussing my thoughts on the new announcement from Lucasfilm on their new project dubbed Star Wars: The High Republic. So this is a little different, where I just want to talk about my reactions and thoughts on what's going on with this new story that is coming from Lucasfilm. To say that I'm excited is an understatement. I have all of this stuff out here on purpose so we can discuss together exactly what the High Republic story arc will be and what it entails. Now that the Skywalker saga is concluded, I was waiting to see what Lucasfilm was planning on doing or where they were planning on going with the whole Star Wars franchise, and I'm so hyped that they're actually now canonizing events prior to the prequel trilogy. The trailer dropped last night, and as far as I gathered, it appears to be a new directive that they're launching with the story group, which will consist of mainly, as of now, books and comic books. But this may just be a launching point for actual movies and potential TV shows in the future. At least that's what I'm hoping. I mean, I think the next Star Wars film is slated to release in 2022, last I heard. So this would be a great setup to bring us a film set in the Old Republic era, or as they're calling it right now, the High Republic. I'm just glad we're getting more Star Wars. All of these stories will take place approximately 200 years prior to the events of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, according to the trailer. It will take place during the peak of the Republic. So it's going to be mainly a time of peace for the Jedi, who are the guardians of peace for the Republic. So I have to admit that when I first heard about this, I initially thought that this was Disney delving into the Old Republic era. When I saw that they're setting it up 200 years prior to the events of Episode 1, although that's pretty far out, it's not as early as I would have thought. But then I started to think about the possibilities, and that's when I got excited. First, this could give us a much younger Yoda in his prime years, as he would be at least 200 years younger than he was in Episode 1, and he was definitely around during the prime Republic era. Both in the prequels and the original trilogy, we see that Yoda is much older and wiser, but it would be great to see him prior to all of this, maybe less wise, making more mistakes, just like he taught Luke in The Last Jedi. Pass on what you have learned, strength, mastery, but weakness, folly, failure also. Yes, failure most of all. The greatest teacher failure is. Luke, we are what they grow beyond. This is the true burden of all masters. I think that would be great to see a more fragile Yoda prior to the prequel era. I think it would be also great to see the planet Ahch-To, which we know from The Last Jedi is the birthplace of the Jedi Order and held the ancient Jedi texts. How cool would it be to see it as an active Jedi temple during this time of peace? I'm not sure if this will lead us all the way into the events of Episode 1, but if that's the plan, and I know this is a stretch, then I would love to see a young Count Dooku, and even eventually a young Qui-Gon Jinn, and Rael Averroes, who is a character in Claudia Gray's Master and Apprentice, which is a great book, by the way, and is set so far prior to the events of Episode 1. And as of now in the new canon, this book, Master and Apprentice, and this book, Dooku, Jedi Lost, are the only two books set prior to the events of the prequel trilogy. What's cool is that Claudia Gray is one of the authors working on this current project. They also have a myriad of other authors and creators, one being Charles Soule, which had me really excited, as we all know that Charles Soule is the author of Star Wars Darth Vader, which is also set right after the events of Episode 3. And these are great comic books delving into the character of Darth Vader. This comic book is an amazing read and a phenomenal addition to the new canon, and it really showcases his talent and tells us how much he really understands Star Wars as well as these characters. If you haven't checked out Charles Soule's run on Darth Vader, you should. Throughout the trailer, you can see several scenes where the creators are all gathered on the table with a whiteboard filled with ideas, and if you look closely at the whiteboard, you can see that one of the ideas is Sith Empire. Being that it's set 200 years prior to the prequels, I'm not sure if this is just an idea they were throwing around, or if they will try to incorporate flashbacks to that time, since the Sith Empire technically was prior to the start of the Republic and the rise of the Jedi. It would be really cool if they set flashbacks to events of the Old Republic and go into Darth Bane and seeing the establishment of the Rule of Two, and even more events of the Old Republic. These are, by the way, old canon books, or now as they dubbed, legends, but they have so much source material to go into, and it would be really awesome if they did finally delve into all of these. This leads me into a discussion that they had about having a core group of heroes as well as the set villains for this era, which is a group called the Nihil, which sounds awfully similar to Darth Nihilus, who was a human male who reigned as a Dark Lord of the Sith during the era of strife following the Jedi Civil War in the Legends canon. So the story apparently will start with an event called the Great Disaster, which I'm not sure what it will entail, but appears to be the main overarching threat that will move throughout this era of Star Wars. The trailer states that their eureka moment was when they asked the question on what scares the Jedi, and that's how the trailer ends. I may be getting ahead of myself here, but Disney has been setting seeds for us about Darth Revan specifically, just releasing his Jedi Black Series figure as a GameStop exclusive, as well as previously releasing his Sith version and just announcing his Black Series lightsaber coming out later this year, and recently canonizing him in the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary guide. I mean, I don't think this is all coincidence. As we all know, there is no coincidence in the Force. I'm just really hoping that Disney is teasing that they are finally bringing him into canon storytelling, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And then lastly, this could be a perfect era and time to finally show us Darth Plagueis in canon storytelling. And with that, an even younger Sheev Palpatine, though again, this would mean that this whole thing would lead us right into the events of episode 1. All in all, I'm super stoked that we're finally getting stories of this time period, and I think this could be the jumping off point in going into even the Old Republic era, the Sith Dynasty or Empire, the big Jedi versus Sith war, and all of the Legends material that we've come to love. Right now, I have the 3 books on pre-order, which are up on Amazon now, and I think the first book will release in August. I'll provide the links down below. I would love to know your thoughts on this announcement. Sound them off in the comments below. I may think of doing a reread and review of a lot of these Legends books and comic books that were set during this era and to do a comparison prior to this, but let me know if you all want something like that. Anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching my videos. Please like and subscribe and click on the bell notification button. And of course, this is the way I have spoken, and may the Force be with you always.